Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of Brothers Who Care podcast. I'm Charles Matthews, and my partner in crime is
Dave Griffiths.
Dave. How you been?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Select the shirt.
Who gave you that shirt?
Actually, you know what's son? I got big shouts out to my mom.
Oh,
I got
for
this.
real?
I got this when I had my first child.
Oh, nice.
So I am Papa. I thought, you know something, let me just take it out today because my son, he did a basketball tournament today, and he did really well. So I'm wearing this for him. So Papa, Darian, Daddy's wearing this shirt for you.
I'm gonna ask for one, but I think mine should say, "I'm the daddy."
So listen, who's our guest today? Like, what's the topic today? Because you're always bringing these crazy topics in and these great guests. So what are we doing today?
So you know, like traditional, we're kind of focusing on like, you know, a specific functional topic, like, you know, so we're talking about, you know, brothers who are in like real estate, or brothers who are doctors, or, you know, brothers who are doing all these different things. But today we're gonna talk about brothers who've made it big.
Okay.
On the communities that people are casting this negative light on.
Yeah.
Right. And so like I'm very excited about today.
Because the funny thing is, we talk about brothers in a certain level, but I think it's a great idea that we're talking about where they came from first.
Yeah.
We always talk about here they are, what they're doing, all the great things.
Yeah.
But there's a starting point.
Yeah.
And we want to touch on that topic, that there's a starting point for other people to know you're starting at a point. There's a goal.
Right.
There's a goal to get there.
Yeah, man. And like it's kind of focusing on one of these pillars. Like we say, we care about our communities, right? And so that's why we do what we do. And it's important to shed a light on those communities and to show that a man who is living in a community that's tagged as, you know, specialized or categorization it gets, that people actually make it out of there big time.
All right.
So here's the inspiration.
I'm excited. So who do we have? Who'd you bring in?
Today, we have my good friend, Mr. Kevin King, the man who has an email that says the Mayor King, and he is a lawyer. Talk about making it big. Let's welcome Kevin King.
All right, welcome to the show.
Yes, Papa.
Nice
Papa and Dada.
Yeah. So, you know, excited to have Kevin, and we have one more guest for you. We have this man who I've known since university days that has done big things, put people in Hollywood, put people on movies.
Wait a minute, hold on. I can touch up myself still. Just in case you know what I mean? Just in case. All right, go ahead.
This man is the director, the man who is the brainchild behind Do That, Mr. Wayne Samuels.
All right, bring him in, baby.
Yes, Wayne.
Wow.
Yes.
Good seeing you, B. Good seeing you.
Seeing you too.
All right, so let me just get right into it. What's your email?
You know, it's a funny story. So I'm from Rexdale.
Okay.
Right? And I remember years and years ago, I think I was like 16 years old. The Mustafa, who was the executive director of a local organization, said, "Hey, you want to go to see the Mayor Mel Lastman's campaign at the end of the night?" And it was downtown on Bay Street. I'm from Rexdale, never really been.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, I want to go." And so we went down, and I was just awestruck. Like I saw him last man. He was doing his speech, and he was half drunk, and it was like,
Or seemingly.
yeah, and he was half drunk on his election night, and he won. And it was like food and everything, and it was right on Bay Street, and it was just like really nice to see. And then after we left, and we went to Barbara Hall's election,
she
lost. And when we went to hers, it was like a little bucket in the corner with some juice
Yeah.
and a bucket over there or something. And I'm like, man, I think I want to be the mayor. No, I love Barbara. Don't get me wrong. But I'm like,
the party was lit on this side. Something's wrong. Okay, I get it. I
get drunk and get elected?
Yeah.
Come on, he must be half black. I'm joking.
All right. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Oh, where do I begin? I mean, as Dave so eloquently said, I got my start out in entertainment 25 years ago. Started a dance group called Do That with one of my clients, who's still my client now, Luther Brown. Started out in Jane and Finch. It was just like a little dance crew. Kind of grew and grew and grew to like years later, we've developed so many talents and dance for everybody all over. I mean, you name it, we've done it. Like, we've kind of set history in Canada. We're kind of known as the hip hop crew for Canada.
Nice.
This man is texting me from LA, but I'm hanging out with J-Lo.
Think
about Windsor Sports Weekend, you know?
Yeah.
You know, these guys are the architects behind it, right?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
It's been a ride. The ride is still happening. I'm blessed to still do what I'm doing. I'm honored to be here on the podcast with Brothers Who Care, and I want to be able to give back and show the next generation that there are successful young men who can be role models, who come from where we come from, Rexdale, Jane and Finch, and show them that there is opportunity in achieving and going after your dreams.
All right, so I'm going to get right into it. So earlier when we were talking about ourselves, you gave us the premise of how Brothers Who Care works. Brothers get together, put in some money, and then they have to vote on a charity they feel is the best charity. So from my understanding, you were one of those people that actually nominated, or how did it work? And you pitched for somebody, right? And then my thing is, why did you want to pitch for the company?
Oh, for that group. So the group that I had the good fortune of pitching for is called Yates, and it's located in the Jane and Finch community, and it's led by a teacher for a number of years, and his name is Mr. Jones, I call him. Devon Jones, I think most people affectionately know him as. But I call him Mr. Jones because I still see him as the leader.
Okay.
And the organization is doing magnificent work. And there's a saying that goes, to whom much is given, much is required. And while I can't do the underground work that he's doing, I think it's important for us to support that in some sort of way. He's bringing up the upside of Jane and Finch, or the north side to the south side of Jane and Finch together in a way that, I didn't understand before, that there were real issues that folks can't travel between streets.
Right.
Can't travel between buildings.
Yes.
Can't go to certain school functions. And when your life is a factor in making such simple decisions, then you realize what sort of problems that we have. And so a small amount of donation, $4,000, could make such a big difference if we're given to the right organization at the right time, doing the right kinds of work.
So then here, what I want to ask then, you did that, but then you guys came out of that same environment, as we can say. What organizations, and why is organizations so good to the youth?
Well, for me, it's like, when you do this sort of work, you have to understand there's a messiness to it. It's not as clean slate where you walk in like Jesus and you just heal the sick and you raise the dead. Like, you got to go in and you move with them, and they move 2 foot forward and 10 foot backwards. And sometimes they're going to tell you to jump off a bridge, and sometimes they're going to tell you, thank God you came. And so is that to and fro-ness. And so somebody has to have the patience, the love, the care, the desire, the vision to be able to carry that through. And that's not an easy thing. And because I know from my own personal experiences, I'm seeing so many people, so many young men who needed that patience. One of the most important forms of love in my mind is patience. And one of the things that we weren't really given a lot of is patience, right? You do something wrong one time, you get some beatings.
Enough beatings.
That's true.
Right? Well, while if there's not a lot of space to make mistakes, there's not a lot of space to grow up and to challenge oneself. And so having somebody like Mr. Jones and others in those communities who are able to do that and work with these kids that are not their brothers, not their sisters, not their cousins, not their family members,
Not their kids.
not their kids. Right? These are just other folks that look like them, but because of the deep love and affection that they have, they're able to do this sort of work. And so we can't do it. Like, I can't do it, so we have to support them.
So what organization helped you? Because you came from there.
Yeah.
And then now, like he said, the man sipping drinks with J-Lo, you know what I mean? So come on, talk to us about it.
Well, for me, it was a pivotal point was Driftwood Community Center, doing the city of Toronto. There was a community leader there named Patrick Brown. I had gotten into some real trouble, like big trouble, police trouble. And as part of I went to court, did the whole situation, I had to do probationary hours, and I had to do it somewhere. And Patrick always knew me from around the area because I'd go to the community center to go play basketball. So when I came to him with this paper saying, hey, I got into some trouble, I need to do some community hours, he said to me, he's like, okay, you can do it here, but you're just not going to do community hours. You're going to do more because I expect more of you. You shouldn't have gotten into this situation.
Okay.
So I ended up working at Driftwood Community Center, seeing how he, like to what King said, Patrick doesn't know Patrick didn't know nobody. None of these kids that were coming to community center were his kids. But the way that he embraced everybody and tried to create a positive and safe space for us, it made me realize like what I was doing wasn't the right thing. And he tried to push me back on the right track. And that was the beginning of me shifting my entire path from where I could have ended up to where I am now.
That's awesome, man. So I'm gonna share a little story too, Wayne, because when the idea of Brothers Who Care was percolating, right?
Yeah.
I reached out to Wayne. Actually, I didn't even reach out to you. I was talking to Ryan Robinson, another good friend of us from Windsor, and we're talking about who may be interested in this, and he said Wayne, and that was great. I was like Sunday at about 4:59. And I hung up with Ryan, and I'm going to the grocery store, and Wayne calls me at like 5:03, and he's like, Dave, what's this I hear you? It's like, sign me up. He's like, the first thing you need is a bio. So we're going to write up the bio, and we're going to make this thing happen. And Wayne has sort of been like a driving force behind making Brothers Who Care where it is today. So Wayne, like, talk about, with that said, talk about how Brothers Who Care could positions itself to further the work of these organizations, because as Kevin mentioned, it's like it's not no simple thing. It's messy.
No, it's not. It takes a lot of love. It takes a lot of passion. It takes a lot of patience. I think what Brothers Who Care can definitely make a mark is like just the fact that we're here, the fact that we're doing this. I was just talking to Charles earlier about some of the gaps that our parents might not have been able to teach us. Like most of our parents came here as immigrants. They just wanted a better way of life. And so they've been able to achieve that. Us now being the next generation, we don't have to worry about that gap. We have opportunity. So what is the next step for us to build this generational experience? This generational wealth of knowledge? It's going to be this. And Brothers Who Care, what we stand for and what we're doing is presenting to our communities that we serve young Black men who are successful, young Black men who have gone through struggle and come out on the other end, and being able to have those tangible examples and people that the young people can reach out to. 'Cause I'm accessible. People, if anyone in the entertainment industry knows about me, you know how to get a hold of me. There's no magic curtain or anything. It's like, you hit me up, I'll get back to you. If you show me that you're serious about what you're doing, I'm here to help, because I was that person. I was that young kid looking for help, and certain people gave it to me.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to reciprocate that, and I feel like Brothers Who Care, the network that we're building, is going to be able to reciprocate that and keep it going.
So that's amazing, man. So King, like you and I talked about this in the early stages. So tell us about, just pick up on what Wayne said about your experience with Brothers Who Care and how you view it as changing.
I just love, I think the idea of Brothers Who Care is very powerful. It's powerful to me because you don't need to be Hercules. You could just take whatever little you have to give. Mm-hmm. If you have a few hours, if you have $100, the only problem is you can't have $99. You need 100. Right? There's a minimum. Right? You have $100. You have a little bit of time. You have some love in your heart and care for your community, and this is a space for you. And because of the low entry point for so many people who are so busy with their lives, they have jobs, they have multiple jobs, they have children, they have families, they have all these sort of things. But the issues that we face as a community doesn't wait until you're off work. It doesn't wait until your wife is asleep, right? It's still there. And so for Dave to be able to be the catalyst to bring this all together and give everybody an opportunity to do your little part, there's nothing more powerful than that.
So but then the thing is, when we're doing all of our part, right? The people that say, okay, I can't come to Brothers Who Care. I'm a woman, so I can't come to Brothers Who Care. How does it help for them to know the organizations out there? There's nonprofits out there that people don't really take the time to look at. Like, do you remember the person that helped you out?
Of course I do.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. But none of our young people don't step through the doors to go look for the person. How can we get these young people to go into these nonprofit organizations? How to get other people to know these nonprofit organizations to help out?
There's a marketing component to that question, and I'm sure there's folks who better suited to answer that part. But the part that I'm most interested in is for us to do the little parts. You see, the problems that we face as a community are massive, right? We have, criminal justice problems, educational problems. We got employment problems. We got family dynamic problems. We got so many problems. We got political problems. Like, it's just so much. But, it's just like there's a Chinese proverb that says, if you want to eat an elephant, you got to do one bite at a time. And the whole beauty of this is one step at a time. We just want to zoom in on one small part. Like $4,000, like, man, that's nothing.
4,500 was the last time. just as a piece of correction.
Every cent counts, Dave.
Every 100 counts.
No 99 right here. No 99.
Yeah, and prior to that, it was 6,200.
But like to some folks, right? They will look on and they would say, "Well, we need $1 million. Mm-hmm. Do we need $1 million? Of course we do. But we also need that 4,560. Whatever. Yeah. somebody gave.
That's what I'm saying. It wasn't 100. It was 99.
Okay, who was that?
Someone gave 99. You remember? Okay.
Who was that person?
I don't know.
The person getting cut.
His name is King, but here's what though. I think you asked the question around the beauty of collaboration, because he gave 100. He gave 100. I gave 100. He gave 100. We each give 100. Mm-hmm. We're not really making that big of an impact. We're making a difference.
Right.
But when we collaborate and when we pool that and we're saying, hey, like, we're going to raise 10,000. So what? The next time we get together, 100 guys, $100 each, it's 10,000. And that shifts the needle. Just quick story. I went to a barbecue a few weeks after we donated to Yes. And I saw a guy that looked familiar. I'm thinking, this guy looks familiar. Didn't really resonate. An hour or two into the barbecue, he's like, you're the guy from Brothers Who Care. And his wife was sitting, and she just runs over and gives me this big hug. And she said, you don't know the difference that 4,500 made in Jane and Finch community. You don't even begin to know, right? That is the power of us collaborating.
So is it of us collaborating, or if it's us opening up some doors for people to see? Because if he didn't sit there and tell me about Yace, I don't know about Yace. Yeah. And there's other people out there like the person that you talked about. Yeah. There's more Yaces out there. There's more teachers out there. So what is it? Is it giving that, like we said, collaborating? But there's millions of brothers out there. We're just one part. How can we get other brothers to help those other organizations out there?
I think it's about, it's about, like Kevin had touched on it. There are so many problems that families and individuals face. Is how do we cut through the noise to get this message out?
Okay.
To the forefront. Mm-hmm. Because, let's touch on it. Before social media, we were dealing with things that were in our face.
Right.
We could go outside and see when there's a problem. Mm-hmm. We could watch the news and see when there's a problem. Now information is coming at these kids so much and coming at people so much. And we're dealing with so many problems, life, money. You're like, giving back to a nonprofit is maybe low on the totem pole. But we need to be able to make those things a spotlight. Brothers Who Care is going to be hopefully the catalyst to bring these issues to the forefront. It's gonna take a while, but we have to cut through the noise to get the issues out there, to get the issues to let people know that change has to come. People know that there are organizations like this. We need to support them. If we all come from these communities, we have to give back to our communities, or we're never gonna progress.
So the important thing is, like, I think Kevin hit it right on the nail on the head when he said that when we're at work or in our beds, or these problems continue, like they're happening, right? So we know that in our busy lives, we're so caught up with doing all these different things that it's hard for us to go out into the community and make this change. But when we could identify organizations such as YACE and C that are doing great work, and we pool our funds and we say, continue the great work.
Yes.
Here's a contribution to continue the great work. That's kind of where change starts to happen.
Okay, but then how do we get the youth? Like, because I'm using you guys as an example. Yeah. You took the chance and went into organization, not by choice. It could be by choice, by faith, or whatever. Like the organization you went to, did you voluntarily go in, or did somebody push you into the organization?
I walked in.
You walked in,
yeah.
But times are different. Yeah. Young people don't want to go join a club. You know what I mean? Young people don't think joining a club is cool and stuff.
I take great offense to that. Time hasn't changed. I'm very young. This was not very long ago. Like times are different. How different are the times?
All right, so it's like, okay, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Take it back.
You're sitting on the couch, my friend. A young teen, they don't want to go and sit into a club and go do community projects and help it. They have their friends. They want to go out. They want to play on their tablets. They want to use social media. You know what I mean?
So for me, you see, the thing is this. You see, we can't, as I said, we can't tackle all the problems. That's a problem. But I don't know. For me, I'm more interested. I think with the limited time and resources and expertise that we have, we could zoom in on systems.
Okay.
Right? There are individuals who are doing great work, and we're going to support them with the financial contributions and other ways in which we could help them. But we also operate. We don't operate in a vacuum. We operate in a system of oppression, a system that has made life difficult for a lot of people that look like me and you. And that system is in education, it's in employment, it's in all these different places, political. And so what we have to do is tackle those things. We see we have a significantly high unemployment rate. I mean, as a matter of fact, I think the unemployment rate for educated, university-educated Black person in Toronto is the same as a white person who's uneducated, who drops out of high school. So it can't be because of a skill, because it's clearly somebody, and in order for you to go as a Black person, the amount of issues, because the high school, the dropout rate or the school leave rate is very high, 30-something%. And so you have to go through that. And then you're going to go to university, and then there's the cost and all the sort of obstacles in your way, and you're going to go through that. And then you're going to graduate, and you're going to go through that. And then after you do all of that, a person who has done none of that has the same outlook, the same opportunities as you. It's more than just bringing somebody into a little community organization. I love community organization. We need to give them work. But we have a system of oppression, a system that makes people that look like me and you feel less than, that our skills and our values or ideas are not valued in the same way. And those are the things that I think that we can tackle in a sophisticated way that would have an impact on local people. I remember when I first, just a quick story, Mustafa Raji is his name, who was the executive director at the time, or youth coordinator at the Rexdale Youth Center. I remember when I walked in, he's like, yo, Kevin, so what do you want to do? I was like, man, I was like, Bob Marley, I want to help the people. I was like, I want to help many people, I want to help the people, right? And he was like, yeah, that would be good. But Kevin, don't you think if you could help, I know in what you want to do, you probably could help 10 people. What if you could help 100,000 or 1 million? It's like, I'm like, you can do that? It's like, yeah, through policy. I was like, I never even heard that word before. So if you understand how to design policy, then you would have an impact on a larger number of people. And policy and politics goes together, right? So if you want to have that sort of impact, you can help each one bring one, or each one help 1 million, depending on your approach or where you want to go. But each side is important. Because you help one doesn't make you less important than because you help 1 million. It's just that your work is different. Like, for example, one of the things like Dave is an engineer. There's certain things that he can do that I cannot. So it's on he has an obligation, a responsibility to do what I can't with what he has, right? There's certain things that we can collectively do. We can go knock on doors, all of us. But there's certain spaces that they can go, certain spaces that you can go that I can't. And so when you go, you got to bring that message in your space that I can't. And so we all have different responsibilities because of our skills or exposure or opportunities or education, all those things together.
One thing that I know we do eat good yam together.
You don't know. Yam and banana.
You see what I'm saying? You were here last time with the dumplings. See? Every podcast has something to do with the food.
I'm telling you now.
Okay.
The next podcast, if Dave don't have a bowl of dumplings
Thank you.
on the table, it's wrapped.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Hey,
Like,
listen,
the
I
man
don't
said, what is this?
Hey, listen, I don't want to give up nothing, but I remember when I was driving, I saw a street called Oxtail. And when I saw Oxtail, my belly started. And my belly was full. All of a sudden, I was hungry. I walk. I'm like, man, Oxtail, perfect. I must be living here.
So listen, you guys did extremely well, and I'm going to say extremely well from where you started to where it is now. And then Dave, that's why you brought these two guests on here. So one, what I'm learning for is that one, giving back helps.
Yeah.
Two, great organizations like that in the community helps. Three, we can't fight all battles at once, but like you said, you want to eat that elephant, it takes one bite at a time. Okay, so when we do that on the forefront, I'm going to start with you. How do we get the young people to understand that it's one, a process, two, you need to find these organizations because the organizations help you with the process, and three, get them involved?
That's a tough one. It's a tough one given the state that we're in right now. I mean, there has to be a way for us to figure it out. I don't have the answer, but if I had to take a stab at it, I would definitely say it's going to be more work on the elders, the people who have gone through it, to go and pull them in. Get them, like, we somehow have to make it relatable to them in such a way that they're going to get it. Because the way that we related to it is not going to be the way that this generation relates to it. So some of the ideals and processes and language we use is not going to work. So we have to adapt our message to be able to get to.
So you mean no more emoji 2, hashtag 1, emoji 3?
It might be an emoji. It might be a LOL. All them acronyms. I don't know what these kids use. Or like Greg said, Snapchat, or I don't know what it is. I don't know what the magic formula is going to be.
Yeah.
But it's the message needs to be put in a way that they can get it.
Yeah.
Right. When I got it, I never heard it from my mom and dad. They were telling me this the whole time, but I just kept hearing wah 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 wah.
Yeah, because they're parents.
Because they're parents,
right?
You know. But now that I'm in the position of an elder, and I'm looking to the youth, I can see them looking at me like wah 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 wah. Like, what are you saying to me? You want me to, you know? So you just have to retool the message and figure out how do we get them in?
Okay.
Is it about making it cool? Is it about I don't know. It's going to be a process. I don't know. Maybe one of the brothers is going to figure it out. Maybe collectively we have the magic formula.
Right.
But yeah, it's a challenge, but it's one that I'm definitely up for. And Brothers Who Care, I think is going to be a good place to start.
So like I said, I'm keeping that analogy. I love it. To eat an elephant, you got to take one bite at a time. But the question I'm going to say to you is, how do someone like us hand out forks to each person to get that one bite?
You see, the thing is like, in order to do hand out forks, right, it starts in the mind, right? It's like when they want to get you, they get you with making you think less of yourself, right? So you won't even, if you, like, Dave and I, we came here around a similar age. I was 13 years old. You were like 14, right? When I got here, my self-esteem wasn't beaten up. Right? I already knew that I was great. I already knew that I could become something. So when I came to high school, middle school, and went to high school, and they started telling me you got to pick this class, it just didn't make sense to me. Right? There were kids that were equally as smart as I was, but they got them early. They got their minds. So it doesn't matter what's in front of you. You can't even reach, take your hand and move it if they already mess with your mind. Our minds was already good. They can't, like, I mean, you could beat me physically, but you couldn't beat my mind. I already grew up with the donkeys and the horses. You know, I already knew what that was, right? Yeah. So that's the thing. So these young people, they get them young. If you look at the rate of suspension and expulsion for kids that are in grade 3, grade 2 will break your heart. And what you will see is that there's a direct correlation between suspension and the criminalization of young people. So if you don't get them early, what happens to you when you're 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 6? Those when your self-esteem is built. That's when your resiliency is built. That's when your character is built. And if you then attack them that young, when they reach 16, 17, you have these programs, they're not hearing, they're hearing wah.
Okay.
That Charlie Brown teacher. We're all like sitting in the class. I know you're
You're not hearing it, right?
No, but you're right.
Because they get us young. And what we have to do is try to protect our children young. See, there's nothing more powerful than a changed mind, right? There was a guy, I know it was like a old Jamaican guy. He was not very literate. I mean, he was not literate at all. He'd wake up really early in the mornings to go to work in Scarborough. We'd take like a 2-hour bus ride. And he used to drink and smoke and everything. And one day he got up and said, I'm not doing this no more. And he just stopped. And people said, well, you got to, he didn't read nothing. Nobody came to him and said, listen, this is the 5-point plan on how to do this. There's nothing more powerful than a changed mind. And once he woke up and said, I'm not doing this no more. Or once you wake up and you said, you know what, I'm going to be different, right? You became different because your mind is different. But if you get them young and invest in their minds young and protect them young from the impacts of racism and low self-esteem and beating down, if you protect them from that early, once they get to a certain age, they can't stop you, right? If you're strong, by the time you get to 14, 15, they might be able to take this class or do that or whatever it is, but you're always going to be thinking, where am I going to go, right? They told me to say, I went to North Avenue Collegiate, Nike, they said, hey, you shouldn't even bother to apply to college. They told me not to. As a matter of fact, they told me to go into grade. They told me they put me in. You should take some basic classes,
trades and basic,
basic classes.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not like my mother was involved. Or somebody said, Kevin, make sure you take the advanced. Nobody was there telling me this.
But you knew.
But I knew.
Yeah.
Right. I knew that. Hey, listen, if I want to become something, I need to go this way. And it doesn't matter what you told me. It doesn't matter what it is that I want for myself, right? And that again goes back to the mind. So I'll leave it there.
Okay, so before we wrap up, I need to know one thing. I use this scenario. I'm gonna the same one we did. Okay.
Yeah.
Young brother comes off the plane. You know where I'm going with this,
Yeah,
right?
I know
You know
where
where I'm
you're
going
going.
with this.
Yeah, I know where you're
Young
going.
brother comes off the plane. Doesn't know anybody. Never seen anybody. Sits down. What's the first advice both of you guys are gonna give him?
Let Kevin go first. I know this one already.
Young brother come off the plane from where?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. He's not from Canada.
Black
Not
person.
from Canada.
Black person, young black teen.
He's 13.
13? Okay, we'll go
Yeah, let's
13.
go do
Let's go with 13.
You see, for me, I don't think you don't give advice willy nilly, right?
Okay.
I would have to get to know. I have to learn something from him.
Okay.
Right. I wouldn't be like, oh, make sure you go to school, or make sure you do that, or make sure you, because there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. There's a lot of different ways to be successful. You don't all have to go about it the same way. But what is it that's in you? Let me get to know you. What is it that you want in your life?
Okay.
Where do you want to go? Who do you, what sort of family life do you want to have? I have this thing called the economics of staying in school. And my daughter, she's 11 years old, but I did it with all the kids too, but I talked to her.
Yeah.
So she would be driving by, and then she always says she wants to be a teacher. And when she was younger, I'd be like, no, what do you mean you want to be a teacher?
You want me a liar?
Like, who wants to
Yeah.
be a teacher, right? So we were driving by some house. She's like, she's in this big house. And she's like, oh, Daddy, I love that house. The house is nice. I'm like, that's not, a teacher can't afford that, right? And then she's like, oh, I see this nice car. I'm like, she's like, well, where can teacher afford that? And she's like, oh, if you go further out first. She's like, okay, I'm going to go out there then.
Yeah.
But the point, the economics of staying in school is the idea that the quality of life that you want costs something. It ain't free, right? What are you willing to put in to get it?
Okay.
Right. So if you want, there's lots of kids that grew up in Rexdale, wherever, right, and they want a certain life. They want to look like Dave. See, Dave pretty, and pretty shoes and pretty pants and pretty thing all the time in pretty, right? That ain't cheap. You see it? It ain't cheap, right? So if you want that, you got to be able to get a job to afford that,
It's flowers,
right? You see.
See?
I'm gonna try to call me, dog. Papa.
Yes.
Hey, daddy. So it is the whole idea of what is it you want in life? Because Hurricane Carter used to say, when he used to do talks, I just love one of the things he used to say, which was, if you want a lot, you got to do a lot. If you want a little bit, you got to do a little bit. But whatever you want, you're not gonna get something you're not willing to put in. Right. So that's what I would, if for a young person coming off, I try to understand where they are and ask them those sorts of questions so it could help them get what they want to do, get where they want to go.
Isn't it funny? I asked everybody, it's the dynamic of everybody answering that question is so amazing. Okay, you were here last time.
I was here last time.
Now you get to answer.
Now I get to answer.
Yeah.
So if a 13-year-old boy came off the plane, what would I do?
Yeah.
First thing I would do is just try to let him know that I'm here to support him.
Okay.
Whatever it is that he or she wants to do, I will be there to support them. Having a influential support system, especially coming into a environment where you know nobody. It could be a totally different country. You know, you're coming. It's suppose the kid came from Yard and coming in the dead of winter. They might be seeing snow for the first time and experiencing cold and all. Give them some type of support, mental support, because that really plays a lot with youth at that developmental time when they're trying to find themselves in an unfamiliar place. So that would be one of the things I would do. And then, like Kevin said, I think it's important to get to know that individual, what it is that they want, what is it that they want to be, what are they achieving, and just let them know you're there to support them.
All right.
Amen, my brother.
Well, listen, it's been an honor. It's been
amazing,
fun.
man.
Yeah.
Amazing to have you guys on.
And you need to get me one of those shirts because I need to get one of those shirts too.
Hey, one of them.
That's why I said, like, who has a pretty shirt? I mean, I have a pretty pocket.
A pretty pocket.
Listen, a pretty pocket.
He's almost there.
I'd rather have a pretty pocket. You know? My pocket not very pretty at all.
Brothers Who Care podcast. You guys keep supporting, keep directing energies towards us, and we push it forward.